Got something a little different for you today. I want to talk about something, well, something rather unusual. Or is it? This isn't quite a politics thing, but I think gun owners are changing what is usual and what is unusual. What do I mean by that? We'll talk about it coming up next on GBGuns. This thought came to me as I went to pick up a shotgun. No, not this one, but this beautiful Italian-made Weatherby 13i. It's something that I've had in inventory. I don't really have a lot of application for it because I'm a defensive shooter and, well, a bit of a constitutionalist, as I'm sure you guys have been aware. I'm going to try to not make this political, just try to stick to the facts. But you see, the Second Amendment, as it's written, wasn't for hunting. And so something like this really, I mean, it could be used practically, but these big old long barrel semi-auto 12 gauges, while great for hunting, great for shooting clays, aren't really what I think founding fathers had in mind when they were talking about people keeping arms. Swap over to something like this semi-auto 12 gauge, right? It's functionally the same thing. Barrel's a little bit shorter, but now we've got magazine fed and well, external box magazine gives a little more application potentiability. Plus, it being shorter makes it a little more handy for certain situations. But what really got me thinking on this was this guy. This is indeed an SBS. That's right, I paid the taxes, did the extra paperwork for this 5-inch 12 gauge, which also has a suppressor, which of course required paperwork and taxes. And that's a lot of extra money. The restrictions, of course, came about after the Roaring 20s gangster era, and they wanted to make it more difficult to have things that were dangerous and unusual firearms. Dangerous, as I understand it, is referring to danger to the operator. It's kind of just like a nice catch-all of like, hey, guns should be safe to operate. But the unusual part is where I think things are shifting thanks to folks like you and I. You see, while I did have to pay the taxes and go through all those hoops for this thing, which unfortunately I can't shoot at my local range, I gotta wait until the roads and trails are clear of ice and snow to go out to the woods to enjoy this. I think this is an excellent house weapon in that it is much more compact, easier to store, easier to maneuver in tight places, and to keep a hold of. Plus, the suppressor, of course, should make things a lot more hearing safe. And with the 5-inch barrel, we've got reduced velocity on those rounds. So we've got, hopefully, the performance we need at the distance we need for indoors and nothing beyond that. We'll find out when I do review this. Of course, I'm going to actually do some patterning, and I still owe you guys some pattern on the 10-incher that I recently showed on the channel as well. Shut up, Graham, what are you talking about? The unusual bit. There was a court case recently in which a criminal had an unregistered homemade machine gun. And while that is against the rules, against several laws, the judge started to really put into question the unusual part of the clause referring to machine guns, especially when he found that there were over 700,000 registered and legal machine guns in the United States. So then he said, well, is it really that unusual? And I think we're winning in breaking apart the NFA. You see, for every instance like this that's in circulation, that makes a short-barreled shotgun a little more common, and it makes the suppressor a little more common. Suppressor sales have been going nuts over the last year, ever since the ATF got smacked hard as they deserved for unnecessarily delaying and slowing the process. I don't show a lot of suppressors on the channel because suppressor performance is very difficult to demonstrate. By the time the audio is recorded, it's no longer 100% true. Then it's processed by my software, compressed, turned into a file, uploaded to YouTube. what device are you watching the video on, all these things, the background noise in the area when you're watching, all these things make it really difficult to convey suppressor performance with anything other than descriptive words, which, as we've already seen, more people want to watch a video than read an article. So that's why I've stayed out of there. Additionally, the performance you get depends on the firearm, the specific suppressor model, the specific firearm that you're mounting it to, and how it's been prepared or not prepared, the ammunition you're using, lots of variables. But I have a few cans, and in acquiring those few cans, I've had to wait, on average, about a year. And recently, the double tax stamp for this took about 2 weeks, which isn't bad at all. But my main point, is this unusual? Do you think this is an odd firearm? And if so, why? What makes it unusual? Is it unusual because it is not usual, because you don't see a lot of them? And this is the question that the judge raised. Are they unusual because of the restrictions on them? If you did not have to pay an extra tax, file extra paperwork, wait for special government permission to take something like this home, if you could just go to the gun shop and pick this up like you would any other firearm, would you be more likely to have one? And I think the answer is yes. Now, this particular Genesis Arms Gen 12, these are expensive. These are not inexpensive at all. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to get my hands on one to review it. But my point is, if stuff was more affordable, you take, for example, the SDS imports that I held up earlier. I forget if this is, yeah, this is one of the Chinese-made ones. So it's a Chinese AK receiver, basically chambered for 12 gauge. These were quite affordable when they were around. I don't know if they're still on the market, but if you could get one of these for $350, $400, and get it at a barrel length that was, say, more appropriate for home defense, maybe ending right there, and it was something that was easier to stash in the closet, easier to wield, would you? SBSs and SBRs, I think are, I don't know, you guys tell me what you think, but it seems to me they are less common than suppressors. At least we sure as heck see a lot of suppressors flying off the shelves, companies unable to keep them in stock, things like that, and many more companies getting into the business, which is great because it should help drive down price as a free market does. But my question, what makes something unusual? What is the threshold for you to make something usual? And to the judge's question, do you think something like this is unusual solely because it's restrictive and difficult to get your hands on? If it was easier to do, would you yourself have one? I think if you can answer that with a yes, then that also answers our question from the judge that maybe things are unusual simply because they're restricted. It's just kind of a point I want people to mull over. Politics aside, that's how some of the rules in the NFA were written, and they have not been edited. And I think if the government wants to retain such control, they're going to have to edit stuff, which of course is a really scary sticky point for them, because then they could lose control. For us as free Americans trying to enjoy our full rights, the more of these things in circulation, the more usual they are, the less valid the argument is that they are unusual, and the less validity there is for them to be on the NFA. That's just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Sorry for the ramble, guys. It's just kind of something that I'm going free flow thought on a day when I can't make it to the range. That's why I don't have a range video for you. This thing, though, in the spring should be a lot of fun. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you to our Patreon supporters. GBGuns, and I do 2-level, Andrew P, Joseph T, Randy A.A.L.G, Peter A. Tom, Moses S. Fast Steady, Tyler 215, Brian P, Scott King, Derek S. Jr., Donald H. Thanks for the tip, lover. Godslayer, Andrew B. Lee A.H., Christopher JJS, Farning Phones 3, Jeff O. Michael W., David G. O.K.Y. Tuba, Robert B. Ohio Cruffler, Steve Briscoe County Jr., Rich R., Red Sky Wahar, Ed Z. Fierce of Cease, Uncle Munzie, David F., Alan B. Laura P., Andrew C. Tata Joni. Keeping things on this level, Gary B. Lafes, Danielle D. Ed Z., Jake J. Brad M., George H., Ocknell M., Cody W. Marcus, Such Hoden Lewis R., Edit P. Logan G., Brian K., RBMD 2022A, Theo B. Ron Z., Gordma NC, Tech No Con, Half Empty, CJ Ronald LW, Russ P. Marvin T., GPC 1986, Robert